Hi there, and welcome to the Data Bits channel. So you may be like me. You went to a thrift store and you found a Walkman, a cassette FM AM Walkman. This one is a WM-FX251. And you get it home and you're like, yeah, man, I'm going to go retro. I'm going to listen to some cassettes. And you put a cassette in, or you open it up to test it, and this happens. Nothing. Now the radio works on this. Radio works fine, but there is no movement inside here anywhere. My suspicion is this beautiful Walkman has a belt that has turned to goo. It's really easy to fix this particular model, this WM-FX251, and yours may be like this or similar. It's got the buttons on the top, not the kind that has the play, stop, all those buttons here on the front. This one's going to be easy to fix, and so that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to fix it, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. It's super easy. The only things you're going to need are, here, move out of the way here. You're going to need a screwdriver, a little fine-tipped one there, Phillips. You're going to need a pair of tweezers, and you're going to need some kind of a pick, either a plastic or a metal pick. Whichever way, you need something thin. Whoops. You need something thin and you need something that is sturdy. So I will probably end up using this metal one here. The reason is because this unit only has one screw inside that we have to take apart. So the rest of it just snaps together. Talk about easy to open, right? So let's get started with our repair. The only other thing you're going to need is some isopropyl alcohol and either a cotton swab or some Q-tips and maybe both. Let's get started. If only this unit would have come with like a can opener, I think that would have been just as easy or easier than what we're about to do. So let's take the batteries out first. Got some amazing Amazon batteries in here. Check these out. Amazon basic batteries. Oh yeah, only the best here at the Data Bits channel. Now we're going to take our pick, and I think I'm going to start right around here where these switches are, here on the side. Okay, so let's go ahead and stick our pick in this little crack right here, in between. And, oh, wait a minute, I did this earlier and it worked great. So what's going on here? There we go. All right, so pry. Now plastic will prevent this kind of thing from happening. See that little blemish I just put on there? Yeah, that's the chance you're going to take in doing this. So we've got our crack started. I'm going to kind of hold it with my thumb so it doesn't get away from me here. And then I'm going to run around where it hasn't popped open. And I'm going to pop it open some more. And really all I'm doing is putting the pick in and I'm turning it. Just put it in a little bit. See, like that. And then turn it. We are almost there. And we've got one little spot right here on this corner. Okay. So now all we need to do is pull this away from the rest of the unit. This is just going to lift off just like that. Okay. And so our next step is to take that one screw out. That one screw! And that one screw is right there, right here in the top left there. So we'll use our fine-tipped mini Phillips screwdriver here. And let's go ahead and take that out. It's like microsurgery, right? All right, so remember I said you're going to need a pair of tweezers. Here's where those tweezers are going to come in handy. So up here at the top, along the bottom here, there is a little ribbon cable. See that guy right there? And that is your feed, electrical feed from the audio head. And we need to make sure we take that off very carefully. If you do this wrong, you're pretty well done with this repair because, well, if you ruin this cable, it's really not easy to replace. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stick my tweezers up here and these little edges here. And I'm just going to grab that and just kind of work it out like that. So our little ribbon cable right here has been removed. All right, so now what we need to do is take the circuit board off of the unit. zoom out here a little bit. And the struggle that we're going to have is on this side with these particular items here. Actually, I take that back. Those are gonna come right out. So what we're gonna need to do is, see this little pry thing right here? Little clasp, whatever you want to call it. So move those out of the way, and look at this. This board is gonna lift right out, and we're gonna set it off to the right. We've got our motor wires coming out right there. And looky what we have here. There is the goo that was once a belt. Now yours may not just twist and pull off like this one is, because sometimes they're just slime. Wow, look at that. All right, that is the cleanest belt gooiness I have ever run across. Usually it is much worse than this. So, since I don't have the capability of showing you, what you're going to need to do, well, I can show you, but I can't demonstrate it, is you're going to need to clean this off. If some of that goo from that particular belt is still here on this, you see black on this particular pulley, you're going to need to clean that off with alcohol. And our belt is going to stretch over here to this part. So let's make sure that this part is also clean. In my case, this one is super clean. All right, let's do the belt replacement. Now, belts are easy to find. You can buy like an entire kit of them for very little money. I'll put a link in the description, and that will take you to eBay, and you can find you a little cassette belt kit. And so since we don't have one to measure it, we could use a caliper and measure the old belt and find one of the exact same size, but we don't have that luxury here at this point. So what we're going to do is go through our belts and find one that fits. Now once you get your belt kit, you're going to end up with this giant wad of belts of different sizes, okay? Now these are square belts. What you don't want to get is a flat belt. So this is an example of some flat belts, but you want square belts like this one. Now the other thing to note is that the belts themselves have different elasticities. Like some of them are really tight. Some of them are nice and loose. Depending on their size, of course, they're going to be looser if they're bigger. But for example, I wouldn't want to pick a belt this size, okay? Like if I put this over here on this side, once this stretches over, way over there, it's going to put strain on this motor right here. So the motor itself is going to get slowed down by the fact that that belt going across here to there is so tight. So we want a belt that fits from here to here, but we want one that isn't going to be so tight that we're just struggling to get that belt over there. So let's go ahead and try this one. So it's purely a guess that this one might be the right size. Now the other thing is the thickness of the belt. This belt may be too thick, who knows? All right, so here's an example of one that is too loose. And it's a little bit too fat too. Do you see that right there? How it's just hanging off the end? It should go inside there a little bit. So what I'm gonna need to do is find a belt that's slightly thinner. You see how that just flipped off on its own? So let's find one that's just a tad thinner than that. And I have another belt kit that I bought that has thin belts in it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we can't measure the length of this belt, but we can certainly measure the width. And if I put this caliper on here and then just kind of eye it before I actually squeeze the belt. So this is showing like, I don't know, 0.7. And once I closed it in, it went even smaller. But I think the first time I eyed it, it was like 0.8, 0.7, okay? So if I look at these two belts that I had, this is the thickness of the first belt that we put on there. If I close that in, see now that is showing 0.8. But here's an even thinner one, and this is probably the right width. 0.6 millimeters. So look at the difference between these two belts here, though. All right, so of course they're very, very close in width right there. But I'm thinking this thinner one is going to be the right plate. So let's scoot back over here and give this one a try. And of course the link I give you in this description will be the proper one for you. I won't mislead you, I promise. So let's get this wrapped around here. Make sure your hands are clean during this process. All right, so there we are. We're on there. Now that is really loose. In fact, it's so loose it fell off. Let's try it again here. Come on, belt. Cooperate with me here. The other day, I actually replaced a belt on a CD player, an old CD player, without actually opening it up. I was like doing it through the hole that the CD comes out of. All right. Now see how I'm spinning this, and we have some mechanism movement here. That's a good sign. That's a really good sign. The belt is not flipping off. It's not flipping anyone off at this point. All right, so that looks good. Now if we add a little bit of power to it, let's see how it handles, before we put it all back together, how it handles running with the motor on. All right, so we won't have the luxury of being able to add power to this before we put it back together. The reason I think is that the power is actually handled through this ribbon cable as well. So yeah, we're gonna have to kind of put her back together. Now, some of these like auto reverse ones have more rollers in here that this belt has to go around. And unfortunately for this one, it's just one pulley right here that this is attached to that's going to do everything for us. So if you have one that has more than one pulley like this in there, you're going to have to do some figuring and some troubleshooting to make sure you get that belt wrapped around all the things that it's supposed to be wrapped around. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and put this back together and test it. Okay, let's grab our circuit board here. We have to watch these wires. Make sure you don't get the wires somewhere where they get pinched. Okay. So let's zoom in just a little bit here so you can see better. So as you can see here, this part slips right back into a slot there on the side. See that? Same thing with this other battery connector. It has like a little groove that it needs to go back into in order for things to behave themselves. And then looking at these wires here, it looks like there might be a little groove here in the circuit board to allow room for that to go through. But that is basically it. We are back together like that. So let's go ahead and put that screw back in over here. The one screw to rule them all. It's like, come on, Sony, why did you even bother? The rest of it snaps together. Why did you need that one screw? Okay, and then we've got our ribbon cable to put back in, which I let it kind of go off to the side here. There we go. And then let's very carefully put this back into place here. I'm going to use my hands and put that where it needs to be and try to push that back into place there. I mean, the one thing you got to be careful of having sharp objects around this particular cable is that you don't slip and slice the cable. All right, so that's in place. Now we may be able to power up at this point since we've got that plugged in and that screw back on. So let's see if we can do that. Let's go ahead and throw some batteries in on the bottom side here. Come on, Amazon, don't let us down. All right, so let's see what happens. And we have movement. Check it out. All right, and then there's our capstan and pinch roller, which should also be rotating at this point, right there. I do see them rotating. Can check our fast forward, which is there. Our rewind, which is here. So if we pass all those tests, then we're safe to put a tape in, okay? I mean, what typically causes it to eat a tape is when it's pulling here with the capstan and pinch roller, and this part here is not turning and pulling in the tape, taking it up, right? So another thing you can do while you're in here is take a cotton swab, put some alcohol on it, and clean, put it in play mode there, and put the swab here, and clean your capstan and your pinch roller, and put it there where the head is. That's your audio head. That's what picks up the sound off the tape. Okay. So now what we're going to do, put her back together, and then I have a Bluetooth speaker with an aux jack on it that we're going to plug this up to and see what kind of cool sounds we can get. So we're just going to go across here. Again, make sure we're not squashing wires. That would be tragic. Maybe we can go this way first. Okay, I don't see any wires hanging out there. I see them, they're there, but they are not coming out. So there we go. Push that back together. And it's pretty much like, you know, squeezing a sandwich back together. Okay, oh, there's a spot. And like I said, depending on how careful you are and what kind of tools you use, you can prevent this kind of scarring that can occur. And like that with the use of the tool. So I would have done better with a more rigid plastic pick, but this pick here that I have is pretty flimsy. So, all right, so let's get our Bluetooth speaker with our aux jack, with our aux wire, and we'll check out the sound quality. And may I introduce to you my favorite Bluetooth speaker of all time. This is the Tronsmart speaker. It is a 40-watt speaker about the size of a brick. This thing sounds amazing. All right, so let's plug this into the headphone jack. And then on back of the Tronsmart, we've got aux jack here. Plug that in. Turn this guy on. And once she is powered up, we need to hit this mode button here to put it in aux mode. This one does not talk to you like some of them do. And we will put our tape in here, our hi-fi test tape. And I forget that the tape well is on the bottom. Put that in there. Let's go ahead and rewind the tape. Okay, does not have auto stop, so we have to stop it. And let's go ahead and launch the sound. Still has kind of a noisy motor in it, but hopefully we'll drown it out with music. So I would say that our little repair process was a success. And that will be the video for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I told you it would be easy, right? You didn't believe me? Okay, now you should. If you want some more information or have a question, leave me a comment. Please subscribe to my channel. Would very much appreciate that. We're currently past the 50,000 subscriber mark, which is awesome. Really appreciate it. And also to my Patreon patrons, thank you for being faithful. You guys help fund these amazing videos that I make. Also, if you would like to buy one of these Tronsmart speakers or just check it out, you don't have to buy one. Check it out. There's a link in the description below as well. This little guy will not disappoint you. He will be a friend in need and a friend indeed. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.